Welcome to the Doctors on Social Media podcast.
Okay, let's go.
Welcome to the Doctors on Social Media podcast. We call ourselves SoMe Docs for short. Here in this show, we bring you today's most interesting content and we dissect it together. SoMe Docs is looking to create unique buzz and excitement within the field of healthcare and to showcase the movers and shakers who are making a difference today. Our episodes are available in both visual recordings and audio format, so you can soak us up through whichever medium fits best. Don't forget to give us a shout out online or share what you love. Okay, hi everyone. So we are back for yet another episode of Social Dissections, where we take a standout social media post and we dissect it together. I am excited to be alongside Dr. Kwadwo Kyeremanteng, and he did before we start recording say that he would forgive me if I butchered the name, which I hopefully got right, but that he would also give me permission to call him Dr. K for the rest of the episode. So, hi, please feel free to introduce yourself.
First of all, Dana, this is a lot of fun, and I really appreciate you reaching out and really proud of all that you've been able to create here. And yeah, I'm Dr. Kwadwo Kyeremanteng. I'm an ICU physician and palliative care physician, head of the ICU at the Ottawa Hospital, author, podcaster, all the things, and really excited to be here.
Fantastic. So without further ado, the way this show runs is that we now immediately show the reel that we singled you out for, and we will be dissecting that reel shortly after. So here we go.
Head of an ICU department at a major hospital. And this is what no one in my field is talking about publicly. We do not have a healthy population. Studies have shown that over 88% of Americans are metabolically unhealthy. That's nearly 9 out of 10 people. And for me as an ICU doctor, because so many people are unhealthy and not making the proper lifestyle choices, this means that a lot of the patients that I see could have been prevented. Metabolically unhealthy people are more vulnerable to viruses, heart disease, high blood pressure, diabetes, and a long list of complicated health problems. And these problems are going to lead you to see me. And if you don't ever want to see me at work, then I recommend following along to learn to live healthier.
Fantastic. So first of all, I gotta say, Dr. K, that you've got charisma. And I saw you smiling so warmly as you were watching that reel. And I just wanted to note that that's not even a question. It's just, I really think that the online world provides, a stage for all these charismatic doctors, and it really does a great service to our profession. So wanted to note that. The first question's already been answered. My question was going to be that you said you were the head of an ICU in a major hospital. So we wanted to know if you could not only tell us where that is, but also brace yourself for the possibility of fans coming in after that reel asking for autographs.
Oh my goodness. First of all, Dana, you are too kind, and I would be blushing if I could. Second, I'm at the Ottawa Hospital, so the nation's capital in Canada, and we're at the one of the largest medical corporations in North America. So I'm in charge of quite a few beds in the ICU, and I got the job mid-pandemic, about July 2021. Didn't really see myself being in a leadership position at this stage in my career, but because of being a little bit more public facing and some of our research initiatives, people thought I would be suitable for the role. So I put my hat in the ring and have really, honestly, I've really enjoyed it. I'm really grateful for having the vote of confidence from my hospital, vote of confidence from my colleagues, and it's been absolutely rewarding.
We don't always hear of that kind of support, so I really appreciate you sharing that, and kudos to your employer who you feel is behind you. How wonderful. So I love that you turn things upside down and explained why people don't want to see you. Whereas, you normally see on Instagram reels of why people should want to see someone, etc. So did you come up with that idea from like a particular reel or post, or just kind of come up with it yourself?
That's a good question. I think it was something that we came up with on our own, because you my other job's in palliative care, and I often got the expression from folks like, you really don't want to see Dr. K in that setting, right? And then throughout the pandemic, we were obviously, being in the intensive care unit, seeing some tragic events, people dying on their own, people people having prolonged admissions in the intensive care unit, going through pain and suffering, and not surviving. And even those that did survive, their lives weren't the same for many of our patients. So I was pretty passionate about, what can we do to convince people to get healthier and to avoid seeing someone like myself in the ICU. Like, we don't need to be busier. There's enough dis- disease states that lead to us being like seeing a lot of volume. You have your aneurysms, you have your your heart, you have your traumas, your car accidents. We're busy enough, and we get into this job because we don't want to see people suffer. So if we could put a little bit of a lens on the preventative side, I just felt like it could be just so much more impactful. It could really make a difference.
Makes all the sense in the world, especially from someone who trained as an internist, who sort of works in that primary care setting and hopefully works to prevent people from developing the diseases that can sometimes cause them to land in the ICU. So in the reel, you say, quote, "We do not have a healthy population," and basically that we're not making proper lifestyle choices. So what kind of choices, right? We've got an ICU attending, in front of us and here on both recorded and visual formats. I'm sorry, on both video and podcast formats. What kind of choices are the worst, especially based on what you've seen as an ICU attending?
Honestly, I always try and look at the most of what gives you the most bang for your buck. So whether you're trying to lose weight, or what's causing folks to gain weight and to be metabolically unhealthy, and I think it lies with nutrition being the number one issue. I think we overconsume, we consume poorly nutritious foods that are high in refined carbohydrates and high caloric density. So what I often preach to whoever wants to listen is, just keep it simple. If you can increase your protein intake, make sure half your plate is really focused on protein. And what I like about that is, you're going to be fuller, you're going to potentially increase your lean muscle mass, you're less likely to binge on less healthier food when you are fuller throughout the day. And it just gives, in my opinion, just massive bang for your buck. And then also minimizing your processed food intake. And I'm not one to be an absolute about anything. Like, we're all human beings. You're gonna, you go to a movie, you're gonna have some popcorn, you're gonna do the things that are part of culture. But just thinking about proportions, thinking about where to focus your energy when it comes to nutrition, I think is such an important thing. And on our podcast, we offer content on several approaches. Like, we talk about low carb, we talk about uh, intermittent fasting, keto. We did a show on vegan diets, carnivore even. And I'm not a big believer in one size fits all for people. I'm a big believer of finding what works for you. And for example, in my household and amongst my family members, I'm a big intermittent faster. Like, I don't usually eat my first meal till noon or later, and it's just worked well for me. And so I like providing people with the tools to that they could try and see what's sustainable for them. But as a guiding principle, I think most people, if they focus on increasing their protein intake and reducing their processed foods, you'll be miles ahead.
What I really like about what you're saying is that there's so much open-mindedness to your message. I always appreciate that because humans are humans, our patients are humans, but also doctors are humans. So, giving ourselves even forgiveness in the choices that we make every day, so important, especially now that we are appearing on social media more and sort of opening at least some windows into our own personal lives. I think that we aren't perfect and we don't make the perfect choices, but we certainly clearly know what can work to keeping us out of the ICU.
Absolutely. And it's the direction, right? I just want to see more people going in the right direction. And nutrition, I think, is one of the most important aspects. But of course, there's other aspects like movement. I always encourage people increase your step count by 20% if most of us could afford to do that. Add resistance training. I think this is huge, can give huge bang for your buck. Talk about reducing your stress and the importance of sleep. And then lastly, I try and focus on community building. I think this is another one that we lacked during the pandemic because a lot of folks had to be at home and didn't get to connect with others. And so I think this is a part of also trying to be healthy, is having that connection. So yeah, a lot of areas, but it's honestly, and it's fun to talk about though.
Yeah, that's wonderful. And actually, you are bringing in the next question that I had written when you talked about the podcast. That Solving Healthcare t-shirt was a nice touch. And I was planning originally on asking you about its meaning, but then I did some digging around and I discovered that it is actually the name of your podcast. So, first of all, how clever that you wore it in a reel. It's almost got like a subliminal message undertone to it, but in a good way, of course. Do you have any other merch for your podcast and do you sell it somewhere?
Absolutely. I got the merch everywhere. Just for those that are listening, I'm showing another Solvent Healthcare shirt. We have it on our website, solventhealthcare.ca or solventhealthcare.com. We have shirts, jackets, cups. All my family, that's their favorite go-to mug. They got no choice, so.
And I noticed that you actually use the plural when you speak about the podcast. You don't say my, you say our, and you say we. Is it a group effort or is it your podcast?
Oh, it's always a group. I mean, to do the stuff that we do, you can't be solo. So yes, it's technically my podcast, but I have a team that helps edit. I have a team that helps post on social media. I had a team that helped set up the website. I had a team to help set up the merchandise and design the merchandise. And then I also have my family, especially my wife, that is allowed a lot of this to happen because, as you could imagine, sometimes it takes time away from family to be able to produce what we produce. And so it really is a team effort, and I couldn't do it without my team. And I think it's an important part of, if you're going to truly lead, is recognize those around you and acknowledge them. And so for all the Solvent Healthcare team, Julia, Sarah times two, Kathy, my wife, Sam, all you guys, really appreciate your effort. Oh, and my editor, Stokely, keep balling. We love you.
That is so sweet. In general, so sweet. And also that touch about your wife. I'm sure that she's going to be thankful that you named her. How sweet is that? So along those lines, how did you, if it was you, how did you choose that specific musical background to your reel?
So for a while, I had a third party assist with my videos. So this was a group that came to the house, set up the lighting, set up the videos, and we would discuss the content and you put it with my own flavor, my own unique flavor. Talking about, we knew what the theme wanted to be, but also it had to be something that sounded like me, authentic my authentic voice. So they were great at helping out to produce these videos, and got a ton of feedback. Like, I mean, our TikTok, I mean, I can't believe what happened with TikTok. I mean, I don't know if we'll talk about this, but I went from, I don't know, it being in the hundreds to the 100,000s over a few months. It just, those videos just really caught on. A lot of it was that were popular were COVID related, like just giving COVID updates and answering some questions around that. But wow, that was unexpected to see that kind of reception from the videos.
A good follow-up question, and I'm going off script here, along those lines, is that I'm sure people that are listening, specifically many of the physicians that might be listening, may be saying, hey, this is an ICU attending. What benefit does he get from being online and posting videos on TikTok and on Instagram? What's your answer to that?
Oh, I mean, you ask, each one of us has to ask what our mission is, and I really am looking for impact. My original plan was, which led to the podcast, was I'm a researcher on and developed a group called Resource Optimization Network that looked at ways that we could reduce our spending and improve the quality of care that we provide our patients. And we would publish, but I didn't see anything change. And so the reason we made the podcast was to try and promote some of these great ideas that people are doing within healthcare, and really promote that and see if we could try and create some change. And what I slowly realized after being a bit in the public eye, so I'm in Canada, I was asked to do a lot of COVID updates locally and nationally, is that you could have a massive impact with a social media presence. Like, I mean, massive. Like, I think, like, to this day, I get thanked for updating folks on my perspective when it came to what was happening during the pandemic. I get people thanking me for addressing racism in healthcare and how it made them either encourage them to apply to medicine or try and overcome the barriers that they saw in front of them. I get, but one of my favorite messages I get is, because of your content, I've lost 15 pounds, 20 pounds, and I'm now working out regularly and I'm off my diabetic medications. Like, to me, if you look at what your mission is, and for me, it was always impact. What can we do to impact the lives of those in our community and beyond? And social media has provided that, and it wasn't part of the plan. Just kind of lined up. But wow, it's changed my life in such a significant way. I don't know if I'd be department head if it wasn't for that. I don't know if I'd be an author of a book. I don't know if I would doing national spots as a result. Like, I really am grateful for this approach.
That's fabulous. I mean, this comes up a lot when I speak about social media in general, because physicians are always asking, what's in it for me? Why should I do it? And so your answers, your lived experience is a testament to the opportunities that you can get through putting yourself out there. So thank you for sharing those. It's funny, I just went on a podcast and answered that question. And so, to now hop on and be interviewing you and hearing all of the wonderful things that you were able to accomplish, again, just shows the audience how powerful the online world is.
And one other thing, Dana, that I forgot to mention too, is like, now I've been able to speak around, in the Canada and US, being asked to speak about specific issues that we brought up on social media. Like, I'm going to Metabolic Health Summit at the end of this month. I'm going to speak to CrossFitters in Austin at the beginning of February about metabolic health and the impact that improve, like the importance of nutrition and exercise. Like it's really created some amazing opportunities. I got to meet some of the most epic people on this planet. It's been an absolute gift.
I love that. In fact, I may hit you up afterwards. You may already know, but we're forming at SoMeDocs all of these virtual conferences, and we're curating them around, both doctors on social media and physicians out in the real world sort of practicing, and a mix of both. Obviously, you're doing both, but there could be a fit there. Okay, so I'm not going to necessarily be able to pronounce this Instagram account, but Auntie Ath Mama Coach, she writes as a comment to your reel, yes, let's think proactively so we can focus less on reactivity. And the question was, do you find that, I think it's a no-brainer question, but I'll ask it anyway. Do you find that social media can help patients to optimize the proactive ways that they can prevent chronic illnesses?
100%. And this is why I'm so excited about it, is you are literally having the tools at your disposal to be able to live a healthier, longer, more fulfilled life. And there's no doubt about it. It's tough to navigate through so much of the noise. You'll have contradictory statements consistently. Eat more, eat less, eat vegan, eat carnivore. There's just so much to navigate through. But if you find that reliable person, like for me, I'm a big Huberman fan. I find him very reliable and you get cites the research. And so it's easy to kind of navigate through his content. But if you could find those few go-to sources that provide the information in a way that is digestible, that is practical, that is, and giving ideas that are sustainable, it really is amazing. I mean, I started intermittent fasting because of social media. So, like seeing a post on one of the on someone I was following, and then listen to the podcast, and then boom, and so it really is incredible. And so yeah, I mean, if there are docs that are on the fence about it, I'll say this frankly, like it literally, my life has changed because of being active on social media.
Wow, that's a powerful statement. And speaking of the Huberman podcast, my husband is a big fan as well. He's a cardiologist and is always citing that podcast. So he shares that love with you. The next question was actually answered already, and that was going to be, what's your primary goal of creating videos on Instagram? Clearly, you want to make social impact, and clearly you're making social impact. So kudos on that. We have a student section that's opening soon on doctorsonsocialmedia.com. What makes the ICU, the intensive care unit, exciting? And what types of personalities would fare well in this type of medical setting?
So what makes it exciting is the few things. You do not know what's walking through the door. There's trends. Obviously, you're going to see some common disease states that are coming through, but you got to be on your toes. You could go from being in a family meeting to telling somebody their loved one is not going to make it, to being able to deal with an upper GI bleed, resuscitate that patient, being focused, and having that variability in your job is, to me, I love it. The second part is you're working in a team environment, and that creates an always, like, you're constantly learning. You're constantly learning from your learners that are coming from different specialties, the multiple disciplines. So if my pharmacist, my respiratory therapists, the nurses, you're constantly learning. So that, in that sense, it's absolutely rewarding. Personality type, you have to be able to compartmentalize to a certain degree. As I mentioned in that first example, you go from giving some families some bad news to being able to refocus and be attentive for your next patient's needs. So there is a compartmentalization that's needed there. And you also need to be able to manage overall stress well. Like you got to be able to realize that you're going to miss stuff. There's going to be some poor outcomes at times. You have to wear that. You have to be able to digest that. And doesn't mean that you're cold, doesn't mean that you're emotionless. It just means that you can find a way to manage it. And so I do truly believe I'm one of the luckiest guys on the planet doing my job. And it's an amazing place to work, but you got to have the mindset. You got to be able to be comfortable with a lot of uncertainty and a lot of high stakes.
Yeah, really well put. I'm not an ICU attending, but from my experience in the ICU, you really hit the nail on the head. So thank you for describing that. And hopefully there are students who are listening that have contemplated it, and listen, they can follow your social media accounts and always reach out, and ask questions, or through the student section of SoMeDocs, et cetera. So what's one of your favorite Instagram accounts to follow?
One of my favorite Instagrams to follow? Oh man, there's so many. That's a good question. I am a big fan, or I mentioned Huberman already, in terms of learning about health and wellness, how to be a better human, even the mental health aspects, some of the recommendations there. He's been amazing. And the other one, I know it's not a physician, but there's a gentleman named Neil Pasricha. He's a best-selling author on how to essentially have a more fulfilled, happy life. And I love the content because every time you come across a feed, it gives you puts a smile on your face. Like, practice gratitude. Go when you're with your family, suggestions on how to bring out the gratitude in your kids, suggestions on taking less for granted. You leave his account feeling that much more fulfilled. So I'm a big fan of Neil, and so those are the two that come to mind. But there's a couple that I love the workouts on. So shout out to Emma Bissonette. She has really great workouts that I love to follow. And yeah, those would be the ones that come to mind.
All right, fantastic. Now, we are nearing the end of this episode, and we do something at the end that I call the shout out wheel. All you need to do is just follow my direction. It's very straightforward. I'm going to share my screen. And let's see, this is the Zoom. I'm going to go to doctorsonsocialmedia.com and go to our doctor directory, where I'm going to ask you to pick. I'm going to open up the filters and ask you basically to pick a specialty.
Any specialty?
Yep.
Let's go with lifestyle medicine.
Okay, lifestyle medicine, fantastic. We actually have a lot of doctors involved in lifestyle medicine. So there's 64 whopping accounts right now. Let's niche it down a bit using the filter. So pick either, if you see the screen, either a practice type or an outside exam rooms topic, or on social media, to kind of niche it down.
Yeah, let's go to speaker.
Awesome. So speaker makes that 5 that match both the lifestyle medicine and speaker category. Let's niche it down one last time. So pick one last category there.
I'm going to go with course creator.
Awesome. So course creator, now we got to, so we will shout out 2 docs this time around. We've got Cecilia Cruz, MD, MPH, who says, live each moment with joy and purpose. And we've also got Dr. Basma Faris, MD, CCMS. She says, nutrition science equals medical science. Culinary medicine is for every specialty. We're going to shout them out. How interesting that you picked Dr. Faris. I know her for quite some time, and she used to be a dietitian and then became a physician and was really active in the culinary medicine space. So I'm sure they're going to be thankful about the shout out. So that was great. And based on the things that you were just talking about with the foods and such. So quite a connection.
I love it.
Yeah. All right. So we are at the end. Anything that you want to leave the audience with? And I will just say that we may have you back on the show because you've got so many amazing reels. And really, this is very reel specific, this episode and this specific podcast. But love watching you grow and would love to see you grow even further.
Oh, Dana, you are too kind. And this has been so fun. And I just hope for those that are listening, highly encourage them. If you have that itch, you're thinking about branching out, whether it is speaking, whether it is, as you saw, coaching, but especially if you think you have a voice that could be relevant on social media, jump on that train. It could literally potentially change your life.
I completely agree. Thank you so much, Dr. K, for joining us. For winding up, I just want to ask all of you, the listeners, a favor. Do Dr. K and I a favor. If you've enjoyed this recording, go to social media, tell everyone about it, make a video of your own, and that you heard this great episode on So Me Docs, and tell them to listen too. So thanks again, and bye.